I'm going to throw to Andrew because I think everyone has spoken today about the importance of data and how challenging that is in markets like, Asia and India and the Middle East. I mean, the obvious question here, Andrew, is, how accurate is it, and how current is it? How do you get this, data that these brands need to be able to make these decisions?
Yeah, so I'll start with Simon's mentioned a note on proxies and things that work. What we work and what aim to develop is a set of metrics that correlate with store sales. At our core, we're doing work with brands in all of these markets, and we know their sales, or looked at their sales across their range of stores, and look for metrics and develop metrics that we know correlate with sales. So dispute them if you want, or say this proxy is good or not good. What we know is that these metrics, and I'll talk about them in a moment, that correlate with store sales. And so you can start to, even though they might not be perfect in some examples, a store works with this set of metrics, and then you can start looking for other sets of stores that have the same metrics. In saying that, so yeah, the data, as everyone's mentioned, from the government agencies is poor or non-existent in some markets. It could be 10 years old. It could be just at a state level geography, and you've got nothing at the suburb level geography. It could be just the population, and no government, seemingly in these markets, likes to put out income distributions because that causes some political questions. And so there's a lot of gaps in the market. So the first two things that we know we need to attack is getting an accurate or relative population measure at a local level. And how we do that is with two key data sets. One is like aerial imagery recognition to know where all the buildings are. So where does the urban area actually go to, and where's a paddock and where's a building? That's our starting point. The second one is mobile device or human movement data that we look at across these markets. So we can see where devices spend their nighttime or where people are spending their nighttime. And that gives us an idea on those buildings we identified, the relative population density between different locations. The third set where we can is obviously the official government numbers at the state level or whatever level we can get them at. We're pairing those sets together, mixing it all up so we get a consistent population measure across a whole city, across a whole country, that balances correctly to the kind of agreed government numbers, but also has the right relativity between locations. This area is definitely denser. This area is definitely kind of single level villas or accommodation. So that relative population density across a city, we have a very good handle of that, how that varies across the city and between cities. The second thing, so you know how many people live in your catchment, you also need to know how much money they have. And this is where we spend really a lot of time and resources building up our consuming class insights, our spend per capita insights at a really micro level. And we do this, as again, Simon alluded to, using a number of proxies. So one of the proxies is house price data. In most markets, house prices are listed, so you have an idea of the house price distribution across a city. All the rich houses are here. This area is clearly a slum or an informal settlement. This area is a mid-tier in terms of house pricing. That gives a fantastic proxy of where the income is within a city. I think naturally we don't have to explain that one very much. That's quite clear. The other indexes we look at again our mobile device, our human movement data on what are the high income locations, or where high net worth or middle or high income residents, what do they like to do? They like to go to some of those high income malls. They may like to go to the airport on a regular basis. So we look at those locations and then look at where the visitors to those locations are coming from, which again allows us to index usage of those locations across a city to give an idea of the income distribution across a city. And thankfully, when we do that, it normally correlates quite well with the house prices. So again, we know we're on the right track. They're the two main sources. There's other things we look at, but again, We're using all the proxies we can to give the best population measure at a micro level to allow you to understand a catchment around a particular store, and also an income proxy or a spending potential proxy around each of your stores as well. They're the two main things that we work on. There's census insights and other insights that we work through in similar methodology. But once you understand the population, the income around a store, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, it's great. And Jane, look, you know, I mean, you make it sound easy, but I'm sure it's very, very complicated and not an easy thing for brands to do on their own. And so being able to kind of access this, you know, high quality, you know, insights at very granular levels is going to be, you know, really key for decision making, because you're looking at a state level, that's not really helping you if there's 10 million people in that state. So, you know, getting an understanding of who's really going to visit that store, and not just is there a lot of people, but do they actually have enough money to buy the goods and services that the business is looking to sell. So yeah, it sounds incredibly kind of important.
Probably sorry, Pete, I'll just add a couple of others.
Please.
To think out loud. So the other ones, yeah, we talk about population income, just picking up what the others have said. We do a worker estimate as well. So obviously some stores aren't driven by the people that live in the area. They're being driven by the amount of people that work in the area. They're going to get their lunch or they're shopping while they're on break. So the worker estimates is key for us. And that's really quite a unique one for GapMaps in terms of working up those worker estimates in a local catchment. We spend a lot of time working through that. And the more and more we're also using our mobile device analytics to understand passing traffic or visitors to an area. You know, how many shoppers might there be in an area? How many you know, people popping in for meetings in local areas? So while it may not be a direct kind of footfall comparison at this stage of our development, it gives a great indication of other users of the particular area or precinct as well. So they're probably the other two linchpins as well: daytime or workers, and also visitors to an area.